The adult beverages are poured, the kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Dad pun. Ooh. No, I'm going to try to hide it.
You're just coming out with it? That's it?
Yeah, just going to come out with it here. So
fun.
I'm giving you a week off.
Okay, all right.
It's March break. Okay.
Right.
Cleaning up the house, we had to go through a bunch of clothes, had to go through a bunch of toys, had to go just through the house. It's time to do some spring cleaning. Let's get rid of like half of all this stuff, right? Throwing stuff out, putting it into bags, doing donations, everything out, and open up the one bag. I'm looking inside. It's like, son, what are you doing? You've just thrown out a bunch of clocks and watches. Like, this is ridiculous. Why'd you throw things out? This is such a waste of time. It is better when I don't tell you in advance.
It is better when you don't tell me, because I think it makes it more ridiculous, and then I would be along for that ride, right? I'd be like, oh, he's doing some spring cleaning. That's great.
All right. So we've learned our lesson. If I tell you up front, it's not nearly half the joy is making you upset, basically, with dad puns. Right off the hop, I guess this podcast is slowly turning into Trevor's medical woes.
Seems like
so. It's with my entire family. So we'll get into it. Let me set up the scene. Up here in Canada, it is coming up on March break. Kids are out of school the entire week. So we decide, okay, my folks up north, they have good internet. I can work from there. Let's head up there. Let's go to see my parents. We'll do some sugar bush, get some maple syrup, like hang out with the other siblings. This will be great.
It's so Canadian.
Yeah. Play some hockey, This is like... Anyways, pack everything up, everything into the car, perfectly done. We take the 5-hour trip, and we actually stay with friends at about 2 hours away from my parents. So we kind of break up the trip, get to see some really good friends.
Yeah.
This will be wonderful. Kids are just like stomping around as kids do, like kids and a sleepover.
Oh, yeah.
Love that energy. It's it's just bouncing off the walls. They're going crazy. They're staying up way too late.
Yeah.
But you got to let it roll, right?
Yeah.
Kid comes to bed and it's like, son, you feel a little bit warm.
Oh, no.
That's, you feel a little temperature you got in there, buddy. We take his temperature. He is 0.1 over of having a fever. So let's say it's like 38 is having a fever.
Yeah.
He's like 38.1.
Okay.
He's like just right there.
Mild. All right. Yeah.
Now we go to sleep and we're like, it is super late. He's been bouncing off the walls. Yeah. It's been a long day. Let's just all get to sleep, see what happens. Wakes up, same thing. Like he's just inching past this line. And we're about to go see my parents, like my somewhat more elderly parents.
Yeah.
Oh no, fever. We should look into this.
Uh-oh, yeah.
And doesn't he test positive
oh, no.
for COVID?
Oh, no.
So March break. So we have this entire March break. We have a family gathering planned at the end of the week. And we're at the beginning of the first week of March break. We've traveled 5 hours in the car down to see our poor friends. Now, fortunately, these friends were all triple vaxxed, and they also actually had COVID a month prior.
Okay.
So they're completely like jammed up with as much
antibodies as you can make.
Yeah, and they entirely dodged it. We've been checking with them all week, and they're like they skipped a bullet. They didn't get anything.
Okay.
So because I would have even weighed heavier.
Yeah.
This is the entire trip. Everything is packed in the car. We are ready. We are set and loaded for an entire week of family fun, and we are 2 hours away from the destination. Son catches a smidgen of fever, and next thing you know, it's just great. I was like, it's all bets are off.
That's just your side quest happening, right? Yeah, the main quest. And you're like, I'm gonna go over here and collect some acorns for this quest for 5 hours before I get back.
So welcome to March break of COVID.
Yeah, I guess so.
So 5 hours back, time to drive. Like we're not going to my parents, and again, like we felt horrific about exposing our friends, which again, thankfully they dodged a bullet. It was great. Came back. Okay, let's get kids kind of like taken care of, hydrated, like.
Yeah.
Now they're not showing anything. Like even with this like slight fever, this kid is still operating at 110%.
Okay.
Right? Now that night, my wife starts feeling a little bit ill.
Oh no, here it comes.
Starts being a little bit achy. Next day falls off a cliff, like bulldozed with this thing. Poor thing. Now thus far I'm feeling fine. Kids are doing just like bang. The kids are having, again, time of their life, 110%.
As always.
So we're making do. I'm taking them for walks. We're not going anywhere, of course, because we're full exposure. Next day, Trevor gets then Trevor's turn.
It's
Trevor's
your
turn again.
turn.
It's like,
Your turn.
so
You're up.
of course, and I'm off a cliff. Now that timing worked out fairly well because my wife started to be on the mend, and then I got absolutely bulldozed, so we're able to like manage it. But let me tell you this: like we found our local babysitter named Xbox.
Oh, how are they doing?
And babysitter Xbox was doing great. That thing took care of our kids so much this week. And it's as much like I would want to feel guilty because it's just heart of hearts. I can't stand my kids being in front of screens that much.
Right.
But I have the plague, Jeff.
I mean,
Like we are holding on by threads. Like again, sorry, and I should preface it. We're fine. Everybody's like passed through this okay. It was thankfully just a bad because of our shots and our boosters and everything else. Like it treated us like a bad flu.
yeah.
So
okay.
very thankful for that. Of course, I don't want to be too glib about it.
Yeah.
But it still was an awful flu, and we are just like bulldozed. And even if we want to, I can't bring anybody else in. Even the
Right.
theoretical like grandma save can't happen because our house is plagued. Like I got the big red X on my door. Nobody can come over. So it's just like, guess what, kids? Dream come true. You're going to play as much games as you want because I can't move. Congratulations.
I mean, yeah, you're just in survival mode at that point. You're like, whatever can get us through this, and you not have to deal with anything more on top of, a worldwide plague, then I think that's an okay thing to do.
I'll be honest. I was so thankful to have it. I was talking to my mom, and she said, "You're lucky you had it. I would have loved to have that." Because she recounted past times where, whenever one of us kids, there was four of us, whenever one of us got sick, inevitably, almost all of us got sick.
Right.
And she said, we didn't even have cable, but so she'd be praying to the antenna gods that something decent would be on TV for the course of the day because you plop down in front and you just put away the hours. Like, I don't know if it's been. Have you had any similar thing with sickness or just even vacation days where your kids are off and you're not? I don't know if you've had kind of the same guilty type of experience.
I mean, you mentioned March break, and the kids are off. We're not off as parents, and you're dealing through the plague. And just over here, we're just dealing through exhaustion. It's just we had to go to work every day, and then the kids are bouncing all day here, and it was raining for a few days there, and they wouldn't go outside. So they got screened. They got screened because we were just not. We didn't provide any alternative to help them through anything. It was just like no, babysitter, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, Switch, go do it, and we'll see you when it's supper time. Like just
Sure.
make sure
Enjoy
you
it.
eat.
This is a holiday. This is Christmas and your birthday wrapped up into one. You get as much screen as you want. Just crank it. So I said, I'm thankful for it because it worked as such a great distraction for them while we were on the mend.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we passed through it. We're all happy and healthy. Things have gone well, but just the timing was so painful. Like we were just right there, like so close to having like a nice family week and snatched from the jaws of victory.
Well, I mean, hopefully it worked out for you to, rest in bed and maybe stream some games. Who knows?
I like your thought.
Yeah?
No, but
Okay.
I do like your optimism for that. Now, I did want to call out we had a, hold on, gonna bring it up here. Great call out from a fan of the show and friend of the show, I should say, Damat from Twitter, who
Yes.
we had discussed our desire to play start playing some tabletop games with our kids, or perhaps even some like battle card games, those type of thing. I had voiced a concern, which even as I was voicing it, I appreciate that it was sort of old fashioned or somewhat not toxic, but not in the right headspace to be thinking of that. These games can lead to antisocial behavior, and I was concerned about introducing them to it. And Matt very, very eloquently, and that's at SCC_DA_Mats, writes back to us regarding the concerns about introducing the boys to a hobby/game that might cause antisocial behavior. In recent years, TTRPG has really hit the mainstream, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. My local hobby shop does a D&D summer camp for kids now. That sounds pretty.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
I think Damat is absolutely on point. I think proliferations of something like Critical Role, which even has its own Amazon animated series now, which is that's actually quite good if you do have a chance to check it out. The Adventure Zone, I think it's certainly feeling a resurgence, and it kind of feels like we're in a. I think you'd agree. I think we're in a golden time for let people enjoy what they want to enjoy, and don't box in any particular hobby with a label.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I think we've grown past, well, maybe not grown past a lot of it, but yeah, I think it's more, like you said, mainstream. And we're bringing up our kids differently too. Like a lot of that stuff is already in their hands. We understand it. I don't think our parents understood it. And I think that was part of the problem too. But now that we can kind of guide them and go to like a D&D summer camp, that sounds amazing.
That's pretty cool.
I gotta look it up.
If your kid was into it, you can send them off and they get to do a campaign run by a good dungeon master, and like you and 4 buddies like slaying dragons as wizards and knights for an afternoon. Like that sounds pretty dope. That's pretty sweet.
And creative, right? Like there's a lot in there, a lot of skills that they can learn. So,
and that might be something we look into, because that definitely segues into what happened this week with yourself and myself. Like we experimented with some tabletop games with both of our kids. So for myself, I went through with the How to Train Your Dragon Battle Royale.
How was that?
It's pretty shallow. It's pretty quick. Like you can get through it pretty quickly, and I think it's funny because like if you were smart enough, if you got 4 adults playing this, I think it'd be fairly harrowing trying to win. There'd be so much jockeying for position and good dice roll. What I really liked was there is the dice roll elements to it.
Okay. Yep.
Where in order you land on certain squares, you have to have a spell. To break boulders, you have to roll a d20 to get past 5. To cast a spell, the spells say, okay, you have to roll above a 5 or a 10. So there's kind of difficulties of spells.
Yeah.
Then to battle each other, you have cards that are kind of a rock paper scissors to see who gets advantage, who gets like the bigger die, and then you're rolling against each other in a straight up battle. So it's kind of introducing these interesting parts of chance. So there's no story to it. It's really just choose a dragon. Each dragon has slightly different stats. They're kind of unnecessary. And some, honestly, there's 2 that are actually just quite literally underpowered. Like you should never choose. The numbers, like one of them gets like, you can move 4 spaces and contain 3 things. The other one's like, you can move 4 spaces and hold 2 things.
Right.
And like that's just objectively worse. Like there's no...
Yeah, exactly. That's just... doesn't work.
You know, there's one that has like you can move 5 spaces, but then you can hold 1 thing, and you're like, okay, there's the trade-off. Depends how you want to play. So
run around.
Yeah, I'm not going to think about it too much. It was great. Like he wanted to do a couple rounds. The first round I didn't have any spells, just because it's a whole other layer to introduce him to. So instead, it kind of just kept it really lean. He's cackling, he's laughing. Actually, my other son was just on my team, and he was helping me make decisions about what we do. Yeah. Do you want to go this way? Do you want to do a spell? Do you want to attack?
Right.
And it was great. We did a couple rounds. It was fantastic. I hope we'll continue with it. I think it's a nice one to have on the shelf, and kind of gets into the world of it.
Okay.
Now, that's fairly shallow. It seems like you went very much in the opposite end and just climbed up the ladder to the 20-foot diving board and dived into the 1,000-foot pool. Because I believe you went with Gloomhaven.
Yes. So this is Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. And I will say that specifically because the original Gloomhaven is a huge, in-depth RPG that is crazy. So this one is a little bit lighter.
How did you land on it? Was this a decision you made with your sons, or was your sons wanted to play a tabletop and you did the research?
Well, I did the research to narrow it down. Dark Souls was in there. I believe also Demet commented on that one. It was in the rotation. It was just the mechanics to that one because they're interested in it, right? And they helped me through the games. So I thought that would be a good transition, right? They would know what they were doing to a point. But we ended up going with something a little cheaper. I think Dark Souls is like $100. So like this was 40, 45. And it is a big game. Like it's not light on any of it. And I tweeted out some of the setups, and I think it's got like 10 pages of just punch tokens. So just picture like almost 8.5 by a letter, tokens. You all punch out. You're ending up with like 200 pieces, bunch of cards, enemy cards, little statues of the enemies and the player characters. So it is a pretty big, like you get a lot for this, for your money. I would recommend it as just the content involved is pretty crazy. It comes with like a scenario book, and like there's a world map that you are putting stickers on as you complete the scenarios. Like they don't exist. You have to physically put stickers on where you're going. So it's a cool setup, but there's a lot of pieces, and I was reading a lot of instruction booklets before we started this thing up, and then I went to YouTube to like,
Oh my goodness.
what YouTube videos can I just make sure I'm reading this right? You know, like because no one's there to really guide you to say no, that's wrong, and you could be playing the whole thing wrong to begin with. So YouTube, there's a lot of that to get us going, but
This looks terrifying, man. Like just like
it does look daunting. But once you get going, it's really good at, we're only on scenario 3. There's 25 of those, but it really eases you in. So it doesn't throw everything at you in scenario 1. It says, leave all this stuff in the box. We're going to go through this in this battle. And then the next one, we're going to introduce some more things. So it's really good at doing that. But
okay, so walk me through, like, I'm definitely curious. Like I'm telling you, I'm D&D adjacent. Like I really want to kind of step into these worlds. So I'm very curious. You say scenarios. So are the 3 of you on a team? Are you kind of like the dungeon master running it? Like how is this rolling out? Like how are you and your sons playing this exactly?
so everyone's on a team. You're a team of, well, a group of people that have been tasked to find a missing blacksmith. So the campaign is all set up from, like, you read out the story as is, like, thus far, and then you go into the scenario which says, oh, by the way, you ran across like a nest of vermlings, and now you're looking at where this blacksmith has gone, and you're finding these clues, and then you go into the battle, and then it'll give you another piece of the story. So we're all together. We had to choose a class to begin with, so there's 4 classes, and it's like your standard, like there's a tank, there's a ranged, there's a mind control person.
What was that like with your kids? Is it, do they immediately did they think about it a lot, or it's like, this guy looks the coolest, no, I want him?
That's basically it. Okay. This guy looks the coolest.
Okay.
So they went with, whatever looked cool to them, and that was their class. So I had to kind of pick, like, all right, we need a healer. Like,
womp womp.
so I guess I'll be that person.
Nerd.
So no, it was good, and they kind of, like, you're given like this little player card that acts as, like, you know, how much like hit points and gold pieces and the items you have and all that stuff, and you have to fill all that out, the name of your character. So it kind of transferred from what they would watch me from video gaming into something like this. Not totally D&D, because we're not making stuff up. So it's a good guided experience, which I think I liked, at least just to get into. So
Okay. So what's been so they got into it. Sounds like you mentioned you're on 3, so that would mean that you finished 2. Was that in one sitting? Do your kids keep coming back to it, and this looks like it's going to kind of take off in your household? Like what's kind of like the read on the scenario?
So we did them in a couple sittings. I think every day when they were off March break, they would ask to play. Of course, I'd be at work, and it'd be the afternoon.
Oh, that's it. Isn't that the greatest feeling though? It's
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm plopping down $40 on a game.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Can we play it? It's like, yes.
Yes.
It works. It was an investment. It worked out.
Yeah. Otherwise, I could run through it myself. I'm like, all right, guys, I'll play by myself. No, they're really excited to play it. It does take because they're kids, it's just kind of hard to have them not touch stuff, because they want to go and touch everything on the board and look at things. I'm like, no, you can't. Like, there's literally cards that say you can't look at this card until you do this thing, right? Because it's like a secret. It'll change the game. And they want to look through all that stuff. I'm like, no.
Yep.
So
I will say I had that exact pain, and mine's worse too, because I had a 4-year-old.
Oh yeah.
And they want to flip cards, and he just wants to roll dice randomly.
Yeah,
Because of course you want to roll dice. He's like, wee. The one time he threw the dice in the other room,
Oh my God.
I was like, what are you doing? Go get it. Like, what am I supposed to like? It's like they just keep. There's the exuberance to touch all these cool looking things, which is absolutely understandable. But it was one of my worries in getting this, especially with the younger one, where are they going to be able to respect the board in that you can't flip that, you can't touch that, you can't move it because it's all part of it. And I hate that many restrictions with younger ones. It sounds like you fought with it, but I think because of your kids being older, you could probably overcome it a bit easier.
Yeah, it was a little bit easier to say, hey, don't don't touch that. Like,
Stop that.
Leave it alone. But I think it was more from like a place of excitement. Like they wanted to see what was next.
Okay.
So that was a good thing. It was just like, no, let's not ruin the surprise. Let's go through this together. So yeah, I will totally recommend it for anybody with a little bit older kids, and that doesn't mind sitting down with them and guiding them through.
So what's your... Okay, let me give you this one then. So, I mean, we obviously... This is an entire thing about video games, right? But I don't think that precludes us from enjoying the tactile, enjoying the physicality of, these real world sit together at the table type of experiences. Which, by the way, you got to tell me about your 2 kids locked in different rooms on voice chat. That was fantastic. We'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah.
But like, what was it a sense of excitement? Like, was it a joyous experience for you to have them at the table engaged and the 3 of you in a tactile world? Was it just a different extension of the same thing? Like, when you're thinking about that activity, this offline activity,
Yeah.
was it kind of everything you would hoped it would be in, like, when we kind of just start to talk about this? Or like, where do you, having some time with it now, like, where do you land on this as, not, I don't know, because clearly it's beneficial, but I mean, like, was it as triumphant as you would expect it to be, as far as, Dad, yes, we're offline, we're having fun together,
Right.
like, this is everything I wanted?
I think this particular game really hit the nail on the head. Like, they had fun with it. I could see their gaming skills come over into this and them getting excited about it. So I think that does help, right?
That's
like,
cool.
If you came in like fresh, I think it'd be a lot. So I was excited, and really, like, it was good to see that their thinking process, like something that was more silent in a video game, they have to talk it out during this game. So I see that process, and we all kind of, like, again, co-op together and figure it all out, like, as a puzzle. So that was good to see, and I enjoyed that. And it was off screen, and it kind of got them doing other things, because I don't mind screen. It's just, don't do the same thing all the time. Like, don't always do Minecraft. Always do Terraria. Like, let's do some different things. There's other things out there. So it was a good one to go into, and I think it really excited them. A good taste. Now Dark Souls might be up next. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, now it gives you the pathway to say, listen, look at this offline family bonding we're doing.
That's right.
And the kids love Dark Souls. So if you want to keep them offline, we're going to go ahead and buy this.
Yeah. Exactly.
$100 good, well spent.
Yeah.
We have to keep this up to date. Like, it's fascinating to see. I think when my kids get older, and I would certainly like to get into this. And I think if any gaming dads have similar experiences or other recommendations for other gaming dads for this type of offline gaming scenario, they kind of like lean on our video game experiences, we'd appreciate to hear it. So reach us at newdadgaming.com or at newdadgaming. Now, speaking of too deep of experiences, and kind of in the world of D&D, apropos of nothing, I decided to start playing Pillars of Eternity.
What are you doing?
What am I thinking, Joe? What am I doing?
Were you like so like rant with like COVID's got your brain in a fog, and you're like, you know what? Pillars of Eternity.
I have so much brain fog that I decided to launch into a game that is utterly unfriendly to fathers.
Right.
All right. So this game is awesome. So, like, it's so much fun. It hits so many kind of classic choose your own adventure RPG, any like kind of the thick fictions that you might have enjoyed as a kid.
Yeah.
So much of it. And the game mechanics are there. There's this amazing voice acting to it. The story's kind of cool. The way it's all presented, honestly, it just hits. And it's got this charming isometric view that's very Diablo. It's very Diablo
like
in its look.
Gate kind of thing.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate, Diablo, it's excellent. So it just hits all of these marks. And the thing that sort of, worries me or kind of keeps me aloof or away from it would be, I know that this game is incredibly complicated. It's very difficult. Like XYZ, there's all these like barriers keeping you out of it, right?
Yeah.
Now here's my thinking process. Right?
Okay. How'd you
Yes.
convince yourself to get in here? So
What I'm trying to do, honestly, is as a gaming dad, my time for this is so restricted. I have so little time. But one part, what I wanted to do is just stop worrying so much or stop trying to overanalyze what I play, how I play it, what I'm doing.
yeah. Yeah.
I was curious about this game. I dipped my toe and tried it out. It just happens to be on Xbox Game Pass. Even better, it's streaming. So I'm streaming it on my phone while at night beside my wife, or even just on my Xbox. I've not downloaded this thing to anywhere.
That's perfect. That
For
works.
free, no downloads, just able to play it. I suppose I'm trying to do is just stop myself from stopping myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, try it. See what it's like. Like, I understand that it's probably too deep and maybe like you won't be able to finish it, but don't limit yourself. Just like give it a shot. And lo and behold, it's awesome. Like, I'm having such a great time. So I'm trying to prevent myself from ruining it for myself by overthinking how long it's going to be or any of those other things. Like, just getting out of my own way. And like I've said before on this like very show, just play the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm so not thinking too far in advance, just really loving it. It is awesome. It looks like I can change my difficulty setting at any time. So I'm all the way down to easy.
Yeah.
There's one further down called story,
Story. Yeah.
which I don't even know if it lets you battle. I hope it does because the battles are cool.
It just tells you which one to pick at any time.
Yeah.
You're like, no, you really want to do this action.
I would hope that generally it'd be I would hope that if it's story, it lets you do the motions of the battle. Generally, like you'll get hit and everything, but ultimately it'd be next to
Nothing.
impossible for you to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would it'd still be enjoyable for me. But so far it's easy. I'm gonna try to give it a couple of runs, see how deep I can get into it.
Yeah. I see. Now I've played a little bit of this game, and when you mentioned it, I was like, "Oh God, what is
Why?
Trevor getting into?"
Why would you do that?
It is everything that you said. So it is like this deep kind of Baldur's Gate Diablo-ish, like isometric, awesome CRPG. I think that it is. And
Writing is awesome. The characters are so cool.
so well done, and the voiceover is great. And I just at about like 3 hours, I just fell off my radar. And that's nothing against the game or anything, but I am totally for any game that kind of like, it turns that key for you. Where my game was Witcher 3, and I played that for 10 months. I know I say that's a long time, but I fell into that world, right? And I just wanted to know everything about it and go through that world and just play it and not worry about like there's a sense of FOMO, right? Like you're missing out on the new stuff that's coming out all the time. So just fall into the game, have fun. And with this kind of game, it's hard to put it down and jump into another game unless you have like notes on like where am I going in this story, because
now that I did like. So again, like there's some parts of it honestly that feel very friendly. Firstly, the very big range of modes.
Yeah.
So hardcore, permadeath, or all the way down to like story, which is just play through, have a great time.
Yeah.
The quest log I found is awesome. Like it so very deeply tells you what you have to do. Like here are the active things you have to do.
Yeah.
This is who you're doing it for and where you have to go. And it mentions the city. Like this is the city you have to go to.
Perfect.
It's just like check. That is one of the greatest underrated dad features of any game is just like the log. This is who you have to do this for, what you have to do, and where you have to go.
Yeah.
It's so that much. I feel like there's a certain friendliness to that. We'll see where it gets to. This thing has been like, I think this was a 2015 release.
It's a while because there's already been a sequel. So
I did see the two. There's some part of me was like, should I play the sequel? But again, I'm into this one. I'll tell you one last thing. That something I have not done as a gaming dad for a while is I'm talking to all the characters and I'm going through all of their dialogue trees.
are you really?
They're so cool, man. Like the stories, the voice acting is so phenomenal. Each one has this amazing story. And by the way, they can all die at any time.
Yeah.
That makes it interesting.
Yeah.
But the stories are rich. They're very different. Like I like them. Like I like all these characters.
Nice.
Like it's like you are different than the other ones, and you are damn interesting, and I want to learn about it. So, and again, because of all those factors, it's led me to the thing of like, don't overthink it as a gaming dad. Just enjoy it. and see where it takes you. And if you blow it off like Jeff in 5 more hours, so be it. But just, that same old gaming dad advice, just play the game.
Yeah. I think the streaming helps with that too, because I was at a computer and had to sit and like make space for it, right?
Yeah,
so, if you could stream it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it wherever I am with a browser, like I can play this game.
Boom.
So it's been kind of enjoyable, despite the very tiny screen of my phone.
Yeah, well,
surprisingly mobile as far as working with my backbone.
Nice.
It keeps paying for itself, Jeff.
I'm just saying, next up is Steam Deck. So,
of course, now I need a Steam Deck.
Right?
We're building a case over the next year for us to buy Steam Decks.
Yep.
With that, everybody, we'll wrap it up for the week. Thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. If you have recommendations for a tabletop that worked really well for your family and with your kids, we'd love to hear about that. If you have your own horror stories with Pillars of Eternity or other similar game that you kind of overcame yourself and just let yourself play, we love to hear all these stories. That as we say every week, interacting with other gaming dads is one of the best parts of the show by far. So that's at our website, newdadgaming.com or at newdadgaming. If you like the show, what really, really helps us out is if you subscribe. So if you go to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, any of the major podcast apps and subscribe to the show, really helps boost the signal to other gaming dads. What helps even further, if you're willing, is leaving a comment and a rating. That lets other dads know that you like it. And even better, if you have something you'd like to promote on the show, something to mention, leave a rating and just reach out to us. We'd love to do so. Get it out to all the other gaming dads who are listening. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. Until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and play the support class in Gloomhaven.
Lame. Just remember, just because you became a dad
doesn't mean it's game over.